Good evening to everyone. The topic is a little bit provocative. It's size matters, but there's actually a reason why that is this way. It's a digital world, and it's also still a print world. And I want to show you why I say size matters. This is one size, and to show you a bigger magazine, this is the other size. So just to introduce our company a little bit, we started in 2009 in Vietnam. We have these 4 titles: Luxury Guide, which is more a book than a magazine, Rob Report, Citizen K, and Barcode. I guess some of you know some of it. Well, let's talk a little bit about brand communication, how it was before the internet came. Brands had to communicate about their product. They had to educate people. And usually that worked via ads and maybe promotion pages, but it wasn't all from the top down. And magazines actually helped them not only spreading the message, they also were an objective assistance because they told some stories about the product. Today that has changed quite a bit. It's person to person. The internet is just person to person. It's all word of mouth. Ask your friends, they tell you in person or on Facebook how good the product is. Now the big question is, do we still need advertising? Well, in the end, we do need it because the brand promises have to be communicated to all touch points. So your product better be great. You know all the touch points, I don't have to tell you much. We have the analog ones, the old world with TV, print, radio, events, and of course stores as well. And in the end, the digital world, even if you have a web page or on Facebook, you are replicating what is in the analog world. Because we have touch points in magazines that are online, and you have touch points in webinars, which are events. So what about the magazines in the digital world? Magazines are about content, and content is still king. Publishers have learned to push content into all channels. Because if you just think about yourself, if you want to read a magazine, if you want to listen to radio, if you want to watch TV, you stay when the content is entertaining, engaging. But what actually happens is that publishers are also content agencies because they have to spread it into all these channels. We reach the audience, print, wherever they are, print, desktop, mobile. And that means one thing for publishers. In the end, the impressions are growing. When you have a magazine, you have it in print, you have it digitally, you have it on the website, wherever. The interesting thing about print magazines, of course, is print runs are stable. For a lot of magazines, they are shrinking. There's hardly any magazine that is growing a print run these days, just because digital has a big impact. And it also means, of course, ad revenues are shrinking, because a lot of people think digital helps them much more than in print, which you sometimes can't understand. How can you measure, for instance, the impact of an ad? So the event revenues, on the other hand, are growing for publishers because, like I said, they went into a lot of other channels. We do events not all the time, we are publishing all the time, but we do events. We have sales events, we have beauty breaks, I don't know, there's seminars. You think about it, there's a lot of things that are done by publishers. And of course what happens is, publishers bundle their services, so they are still working on various levels with the client. So digital, on the other hand, is more like a wild, wild west. It changes all the time. It's much faster, the content is shorter. You always ask yourself, well, can I read this on my smartphone? But one of the challenges actually for publishers is to keep the essence of a magazine. Every magazine, is something special. It's a brand. It's especially designed to convey a message. And you want to keep that on whatever digital media. It's not just a database that you're running through. And of course that also means for media, for publishers, that the revenues on that side are growing because the digital has so much impact on it. Competing, do we do with social media? Facebook is huge, fashion bloggers are there, and there's a lot of free information out there. But the question is that great content? Then we can talk a little bit about what clients do publishers actually have. You have two categories, it's brand and it's distributors. The brands always think more long-term because they want to establish their business for many, many years. And for them, especially in the luxury world, wherever you sell, that's interesting. You don't have to sell in Ho Chi Minh City. If your customer travels to Singapore, Dubai, Paris, you are happy. The distributors, however, on the other side, think very, very different. Come to my store now. I want to sell to you. And branding is only important and it helps me to sell now. That actually has a big impact on ad revenues. Clients usually are very concerned about many things. Scale. Well, what is the audience of a magazine? Who are the readers? What age? What categories? You name it. And on the other hand, no, that's not for print and digital, that's all the same. There's no big difference. Cost. What is my return of investment? If I put an ad or any promotion in your magazine, what do I get back? Well, frankly, that's the problem. Because how can you measure an ad file in a magazine? Because the impact is much bigger, it's much more brand awareness than any direct sales. You can put in a QR code. Okay, does that really help a lot? That seems to be a little bit easier on the digital side, but very often let's speak about your smartphone and you see a little banner somewhere on the smartphone. If you want to click it, okay, you often miss it. Yeah? So the return from that is currently not really good. And of course, every metric always depends on your objectives. To give you an idea about content, which kind of content do we have? What are we talking about? Because in the end, content is everything. If you have an event, it's content. We have the editorial. The publisher is always responsible for that. They are controlling what is in the content, in the editorial. The advertorial, the client is responsibility. And then advertorial is a mix of editorial and advertising. So because of advertising, it goes the responsibility to the client. And an ad, of course, is always coming from a client. However, there's interesting forms on how to work with this. You can do an editorial and have it sponsored. Maybe people know it better as native advertising these days, whatever that means. An advertorial. Who's responsible to do an advertorial? Is it an agency? Is it a publisher? Well, actually it should come from an agency because you should know the brands much best. But there is a trend. There is a trend that publishers become content agencies. They build new companies for that because you don't want to mix it. You don't want your editors to write the editorials. And of course, think about ads. In the digital world, well, if you just have this plain, simple artwork, not moving, nothing happens. Is that interesting? No, you should enhance it. You should put on audio, you should put on video. That engages people. I believe, of course I come from the magazine side, so I believe magazines won't die. Simply because people like to spend their time reading and enjoying great content. And I gave you this little survey that was done by Condé Nast in the US, but I think it basically represents what's happening. If you read digital only, you still spend 70 minutes on digital magazines, one issue. Print only, it's a little bit more. Usually you stay longer with the printed magazine. And if you combine it, you have one print version and you have on top of that a digital one, actually you stay even longer. magazines mean time is well spent. An average read time is around 30 to 40 minutes then. How long it takes you to sit down and enjoy a magazine. You pick it up, not only one time, you pick it up whatever, between 3, 4, 5 times, it depends on the magazine. Yeah? If you read Vogue, for instance, and you are really into it, you pick it up 6, 7 times. And one interesting thing that really separates magazines from any other web content is you read it linear. You read it from the front to the end, or the other way around. On the web, you hop around. You have here a link, there a link, and then you never know where you really wanted to go. Content-wise, magazines are very informative, and they are also very inspirational. Think if you want to go shopping. I had this discussion, I think, yesterday about shopping. I said, oh, all the products are there online and you can buy. They said, well, in the end, how do you know that you want to buy this product? Where do you get this impulse from? And often it's a magazine, because you flip through a magazine and you find a fantastic product. The editor is writing about it, or the editor is talking about it. And then you start actually looking into this product. So in the end, there's an interesting fact for magazine. People like to see big ads because they enjoy the quality of good ads. And you can see that much better if it's big. So that is all about magazines and science. Thank you very much.